But yeah. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk about like Unity. So a lot of people already know what Unity is, but they don't know sort of like the background bits and pieces of Unity. So I'm going to talk around those sorts of things, like what direction is, things like that, which games have been made with it, non-games have been made with it, very bizarre games about dolphins and cats and things have been made with it. So Unity can do many things. Most of us kind of just assume Unity is the first thing, right? We make a game engine that people can then download, make games in, and release. We make games release, and basically on and on. But we do other things, we do game publishing. So for example, there's a couple of games which we think are utterly amazing, and we kind of like become a publisher for them to help them publish different platforms. Support packages on your projects and stuff like that. We do training consultancy. We have a cloud service coming out, and we've got a load of other stuff. But one of our biggest things that we like, one of our biggest assets, is the community. And the amazing thing about the community is they do lots of things with Unity they probably shouldn't be allowed to do, but we let them do it anyway. So these things vary between like creating plugins and extensions for the engine, basically making lots of very wide and very strange games and things. So this slide is probably a couple of months old. We're actually like something like 450-ish employees, and we have about 22 offices, I think. My flat in London was the London office at one point, because I just shipped all the devices there, and yeah. We have, I think, 2.9 million registered developers now. Like this, yeah, I need to update this, and I think it's now 400 million-ish web player installs. Half of that is in Asia, so yeah. So the big focus of our company is the community. So what we want to do is we want to make a product and actually want to have our community be involved with the product, and help evolve it, help advance it, things like that. We don't like other companies that kind of sit in their ivory, I'm not going to name any, so that's horrible, sit in their ivory tower and they kind of just throw down like fruit and then the monkeys have to eat the fruit. Like, we don't like anything like that. What we like to do is we like to be an equal level playing field. So as we develop the product, you guys use the product, you then feed back to the product, and then we redevelop it, and so on and so forth. And then we come to events like this, for example. So yeah, we like to actually be an interactive community and sort of understand what you guys are doing and how we can help you to basically be successful in making some awesome games. Because games are awesome, you guys should be successful in helping you become successful. So yeah, so our community is one of our big focuses. And any sort of big decision we always make is always about how will our community look at this? Is there something they will actually care about or they won't like and things like that? It's always sort of like the first forefront thing on a question. Oh, another thing, if I talk too fast, just turn me off. My girlfriend does it, so yeah. Cool. So we have a whole range of forums. So we have the forums, which are more discussion-based. So here's my project, should we talk about it? We have user developers, people who work on the engine in the forums, you know, giving feedback and stuff like that. We have the answer section, which is more like, how do I make an MMO? How do I make Flappy Bird? And then people then respond, you know, in kind. We have user groups. So user groups take place all around the world. They're like organized by the community. What they are is they rent out a space. They get a couple of developers to come and then talk about their games, their projects, what went right, what went wrong, what they learned from the projects and things like that. And then we give presentations. So rather than like four presentations, we have like people who give presentations and community give presentations. And then in London, everyone goes and gets drunk afterwards. So yeah, people like that bit. Game developers. I remember we did one in Norway, and we basically turned up, we ordered every single person in the room a pizza. So everyone was like, pizza? Oh yeah, like they all woke up. Yeah. Google Plus Hangouts. So we also do Hangouts where our developers will go on after they release the feature and basically talk about the feature and people can pose questions. We have a guy called Mike Guy in America, and he does like every Thursday, he does, does anyone watch his live training? Yeah, he's hilarious, isn't he? Yeah. So mechanical keyboard. Pardon? Mechanical keyboard. Yeah. So Mike, what he does every Thursday is he does like an hour live training where he'll say, right, today we're going to make teleportation grenades. Today we're going to make lasers that shoot out of guns. Today we're going to make this. And he kind of like does a workshop, and then people will like tune in and they'll say, hey, what do you do here? And then he sort of goes off on a tangent and then starts talking about the things. Sometimes what he's started to do, much to the dismay of our marketing team, is actually bring up new unreleased features of Unity and then trying to learn them live in front of 3,000 people in alpha versions of software. So he's trying to learn a feature which has no documentation or anything yet, and it's still in development, and he's just like swearing at it and getting really angry. But it's quite funny watching it because he's trying to learn it out of the box, and then he has 3,000 people say, oh, what does that button do? And he's like, oh no, I'll go click on it. And it's all live streamed and it's all uploaded to our website, so there's something like 30 odd hours of just him being a jokester and yeah, making awesome stuff. But yeah, that's cool. We also got broadcast live training, talked about that, and the asset store. So the wondering thing about the asset store is basically a method of buying and selling game assets. So you can, for example, you're an amazing 3D modeler, you then create an amazing asset, you perhaps don't have coding skills, you can't find someone who can code. You can then still make money from your assets by selling them on the asset store and making money. So we have quite a few people on the asset store who just quit their full-time jobs because they earn more money on the asset store. Prime example is when I started using Unity and the asset store was first released, this was years and years ago, like Unity 2. Basically, I needed some rocks, and I'm an okay 3D modeler, but I can't model rocks that well. So rather than modeling rocks, I just found a pack of 10 rocks for like $5, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. So I bought 10 rocks for $5. Since joining the company, I realized that to make my 15-year-old kid, and he made a lot of money, like, yeah, selling rocks. We also tried, it was the first rock pack, now there's lots, but yeah, he basically made a ton of money. We actually approached him to like hire him to do some 3D artwork, and he said, no, because I have more money on the asset store than you guys will be able to pay me. But he's 15, right? So, yeah, like, he was like, yeah, you couldn't afford me, you couldn't afford me. We were like, what? Like, yeah, cheers, mate. So yeah, it's community driven. So we've got our own projects on there, but other people have got their own projects, like extensions, textures, meshes, some of it free, some of it paid. Yeah, it's a whole wide variety of stuff. You can buy assets, sell assets. We've actually hired quite a lot of people from the asset store. So our 2D tools, for example, were all made by people who made 2D extensions of Unity, put them on the asset store, and then we said, hey, do you want to come aboard and make 2D stuff? And they're like, yeah, why not? So yeah, cool. Asset store is kick-ass, badass. Yeah, so Unity have lots of sayings. One of the important ones to deploy everywhere. So what you want to do is you want to make an engine, a middleware, so you can create your textures, your audio, your sexy models and stuff like that. You can basically bring it all into one place, create your game how you want to create it. Not like, you know, saying you have to make a racing game or you have to make a first-person shooter. Basically make whatever game you want. Now I've got some game examples in a bit, rather than just showing, here is a shooter, here is a racing game. I'm going to show you games where you're like a dolphin and you're trying to cheat in an exam, and there's lots of really bizarre games, and I'm going to talk more about those ones because they're more interesting. So all wants to deploy everywhere. We want to make a game engine that you can deploy to many platforms. So currently, like, you build a web player, so you can I can make a game, embed it in a website, send it to my NAN, get it to play like a zombie shooter, which is quite funny. Standalone applications, Facebook SDK, Steam, gaming portals. Basically, you can get your games on desktop platforms wherever. The Steam box as well will support it as well. Soon we'll be able to export to WebGL, so you won't need a plugin. One problem I have sometimes with developers is they say, okay, it's great, we want to use Unity. The trouble is with the web player plugin, you have to download an extra file. And especially like my nan, whenever I send her, or my mum, whenever I send her a photo, she's like, oh, I've got to download a photo, it's sending me a Trojan, it's sending me a virus. And I'm like, Mum, why would I send you a virus? I've just got to fix your computer if I sent you one anyway, so yeah. So not a lot of people like the fact that you have to download a Unity plugin, but we're working on exporting to WebGL. So you have a game like this running in the browser without the need for downloading any extra third-party plugins or software. And for example, I could take this game and send it to my nan and get her to play this game. But yeah, she wouldn't like it. She's obvious. I've got an example of this game, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. But if I have my time, I'll show it at the end. You can place chickens with machine guns, and it's a very bizarre game, but yeah. Mobile. So we have a massive following on mobile. So for example, Windows Phone, Android, iOS, BlackBerry, Tizen was released. There's many more Asian sort of platforms that they just keep going on and on and on. So Unity is basically optimized for mobile, so you can get Unity games running really on devices. Consoles as well, so Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS2, basically all that. Does anyone actually have an Ouya? Does anyone actually know what Ouya is? A company report. Okay, it's a pretty good paperweight, right? Yeah. So like the Ouya, which is like a home-brew console type thing. So basically support, I think it's called the Wii as well, sort of. So yeah, basically support those platforms. So you can make one game. So this simple spaceship shooter today, if I had all the dev kits, I could make a simple spaceship shooter. Build it to Facebook, Steam, Mac, Linux, desktop, web player, WebGL, all of those as well if I had the dev kits. So my stupid little spaceship game can get to all of those.
This one, do you support the Xbox One?
Xbox One? Yes.
I mean, since when?
Since when? A couple months ago.
Because I missed the announcement.
You,
I missed the announcement.
you missed the announcement. It's currently in beta, the Xbox One, but people are shipping games using the beta version. So the PS4 version is finished. But what we find is rather than like what some companies do is they say you can't ship a game on like a beta or an alpha. If your game works on a beta, we'll stay able to ship it. So at E3 they announced 100 like idea Xbox and indie game titles. I think 90% of them made in Unity, which is quite terrifyingly good. So our CEO is very happy. Microsoft is very happy because we just want people to release on Xbox, which is cool. I do have some examples there. But yeah, Xbox One and all that stuff. Cool. Another one. So I love the Oculus Rift. Does anyone use an Oculus Rift? Okay. Does anyone have no idea what an Oculus Rift is? Yes. Okay. So it's a pair of goggles you look on. It's a virtual reality you look around the world. The first demo I saw of it was a guillotine simulator. So you yeah. Yeah, so you have this amazing technology, and yeah, that happens. So we also support peripherals, like Oculus Rift, the Emotion Racer, Hydro, Aquino. One of my favourite things is taking Oculus Rift to a meeting with guys in business suits, and they're sort of serious. You put an Oculus Rift on their head, and then they're like, wow. So they lose their whole business suit. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some games. So Bad Piggies was made in Unity, which is pretty cool. They basically hacked our engine and converted it to be 2D, which is nice. So choose Rovio. The new one, Angry Birds Epic, is also made in Unity, which is pretty epic. So yeah, Lego Star Wars. So this is basically all ex-console developers who worked on like Star Wars Battlefront and really complex games. Basically, they just chose Unity to release games on mobile platforms like Lego games, which is quite cool. Has anyone played Monument Valley? Oh yeah, it's awesome. If you haven't played it, fine, it's amazing. I gave it to my dad, and he was like, oh, just play one level. 2 hours later, he's still playing it. Yeah. So basically, it's like an MC Escher world, so you walk around on these different walls and platforms. It's very tricky, but very, very fun. They also won an Apple Design Award, and they made millions, and there's only 2 guys. Impossible Road, so basically you roll it all down a hill, and basically you can go off the track if you land onto the track again, so you kind of go off and then you can kind of like steer it and land on the track and carry on going. So it's very fun because even though you fall off, you don't fail, you can actually like redeem yourself. Kerbal Space Program. So Kerbal Space Program is a pretty good example of like a galaxy basically rendered in Unity, which is pretty cool. So you build your spaceship rockets with these little dudes called the Kerbin that are like drops. And then you have to like go to other planets and plant a flag and build civilizations and stuff. For example, they made this game, there's only 4 guys making it. NASA have approached them recently to do some visualizations of space. So you imagine 4 guys in a room making this stupid spaceship game, and NASA sends an email. Just like, yeah. So that's pretty cool. I used to live with a guy who was studying like rocket science in his spare time just to play this game. Yeah, he got really angry. Rust. So yeah, Rust. Very famous for naked people running around online. So yeah, Rust is very Unity, it's very beautiful. It's made by you guys make GarageMod. Castle Story, you have these little dudes and you sort of build up castles. Every single block has physics onto it, so you can place a bomb in the middle of the castle and then all the blocks will then tumble and fall right together. Mojang Scrolls, so the guys who made Minecraft then use it, which is cool. Tucky Root Zero, so you can see there's lots of different styles. Supernauts, so you can go to other people's worlds and place blocks and stuff. So I build very rude structures in my brother's village, and he gets really annoyed with me. When he's trying to show it to his like, potential girlfriend, and he goes to his village and it's just a massive Hearthstone, so Blizzard actually decided to use Unity to make Hearthstone their like card game for mobile and desktop, which is quite amazing. I wasn't allowed to talk about this for 6 months, but I am now, so yeah. And Hearthstone's pretty so you ever play Hearthstone? It's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. My death is terrible. The Room. So not the horrible movie, but actually like it's an iPad game. So basically you zoom in and you basically pull apart all the structure to get started. Tesla Grad, so 2D game / 3D game, released on all consoles. NASA. So NASA have like basically they've taken the height map data from Mars, and you can drive around on Mars in your browser with a Curiosity rover. It's really boring because there's nothing on Mars. So you just drive around and you're like, oh, there's some water. Oh, there's more desert. Oh, there's a whole planet, this desert. So there's no ramps or anything. First time I played this, I tried to flip the rover, but you can't. I was trying to find like a ramp that could go off and then do a barrel roll or something. I don't know. But no, that's I mean, it's interesting, but it's still kind of boring, but it's cool that NASA use it. Nuovo use it for interactive installations. In fact, I actually have a okay, so we've got lots of other games. We've got lots of trailers, lots of games, lots of people use Broforce as well. Shooty stuff. Yeah, we have to have shooty like kind of the Tim Burton style. I don't know, it's a bit tricky. Weird stuff happens. Naval action, look how kick-ass that is, right? Yeah, there's a whole range of different games. So basically, Unity is used for all sorts of things. We also have architecture as well. So for example, rather than just focusing on games, what a lot of people are doing is because Unity can bring lots of different files, they're actually using it for non-games, which is an area we're quite interested in. So people are using it to visualize, for example, buildings. So you can zoom into the building and see how much it's pricing, things like that. This is a bit more interesting than just having a render of like a building and then just setting something. They can then install it on their iPad, something like this, explore around and kind of like change materials and things like that. Visualize trains, yeah, if you're into trains, I guess. You can zoom into the train and see what it looks like, which is pretty amazing. Oh yeah, this was quite cool. So basically you can adjust the bike and then you can basically build up your bike, and then when it's finished you can then send it off to the guys and they can price up and say, oh, this bike that you just made, like this is how much it would cost to make, which is quite cool. There's lots of some of it's interesting. Yeah. So basically it's used for lots of different types of things. Although one of my favorite games is actually this one, Fast Aquatic. So this one's used for the Oculus Rift. I actually sent the makers of this game an email saying thank you for making this beautiful game. So this is just a prime example of the different things. So basically you cheat in an exam, which everyone here has done at some point. You get really hard questions. It's all Oculus Rift, so you have your head down and you've got like a peer over at the guys like table next to you. But they're all really hard questions. And then the teacher I don't know why it's dolphins. I mean, like, I guess it's more interesting than kids because they shoot at you even through. Yeah. It's made by like two guys, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, so, okay, it's more than that, yeah. So yeah, for example, that's just a prime. Someone's made one called Catalyst or something. So you're a cat, you walk around pushing things off shelves. So yeah, basically there's lots of mad stuff. One recent one is Rock Simulator. Rock Simulator is you play as a rock and you just roll around as a rock. It's very next gen. Like this is why. People actually requesting PvP to pebble versus pebble. Rocks. Goat Simulator. I don't think so. This looks more fun. So I think someone's making mountain simulator, and they've actually advertised something no control. You just look at a mountain, you can't control it. So yeah, like this. I mean, one example of this is silly, but like in Unity, you can pretty much make whatever you want. There's lots of different types of things people make it. Some stuff a little questionable. Some stuff like Rock Simulator. I would love to buy an extra one just for this, rolling rock down a hill. Yeah, pebble versus pebble, like PvP would be pretty cool. So you have rocks like Stone Cold versus the Rock or something. Yeah. Cool. So yes, let's actually get on to something. Cool. So yeah. So let's actually get on to make the game. So the game is very, very simple and very basic. Simply because we only have a limited amount of hours. If I could show you guys how to make like a game that would make 50 grand a day, like Flappy Bird, in a couple of hours, I would not be here right now. I'd be on Bora Bora Beach. So yeah, so for example, it's a super simple game. So we've got spaceship, and you've got boom, boom, boom. It uses the 2D. It uses 3D as well for the Venus flying in the background. You have sort of burnt peaks or asteroids, explosions, audio. So some of this stuff you guys already know, some of this stuff you guys don't already know. So I'm probably going to go through it quite quickly and then do some stuff you guys don't know. So yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. Sweet. Okay, so if I show my... okay, that's probably the easiest to start. Cool. So, okay, go to this link. So if you go to this link and download the assets, basically if you have Wi-Fi, if not, there's a pen drive somewhere. Someone's got it? Someone's got a pen drive? Cool. Oh, someone admitted. Cool. Okay, cool. Basically download it. So before we start, I like to do this. I basically like to find out more about you guys. So rather than me just like talking the whole time, it gets really annoying. Gets really annoying. So basically, put your hand up if you're a student. Wow, cool. Okay, so put your hand up if you're not a student. Okay, so if you didn't put your hand up, you're super lazy. Put your hand up if you're a programmer, where you write code or you write scripts. So 1 or 2 of you. Put your hand up if you're a 3D artist. You can put your hand up all at once, yeah. Put your hand up if you're a 2D artist. Put your hand up if you're a UI artist. Put your hand up if you're a sound designer. You don't clearly have enough beard. Oh yeah, you do. Sound designers always have beards, so yeah. Yeah, you're if you're a game designer. Basically, it's your job to wind up everyone else in the company, in like the team, and kind of just change stuff last minute, right? Okay, no worries. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, if you're a QA, quality assurance, okay, cool. If you have never made a game before. Wow, okay, so by the end of the day, you're all made games. You can go and brag and say, oh, I've been games on the platform. Cool. But yeah, if you have no idea what Unity is, what games are, basically you have no idea what's happening right now. You just got a big group of people and you got this one thing like fun. Okay, cool. Okay, that's fine. Where you just saw free sandwiches and you get exposed to dolphins and rocks and yeah. Okay, so like a couple of you, that's cool. Hopefully by the end of it you'll have an idea. Yeah.
Just play a rock.
Pardon?
Just play a rock.
Just bring a rock, yeah. Rock simulator. Cool. So yeah, sweet. So hopefully you guys have downloaded these assets, I think. I'd say there's a yes. Cool. If not, yeah. Also we have the license key down here. So you can enter that now. You don't need Unity Pro to make this whole game. You can make this whole game in the free version of Unity and then ship it and then make lots of money, which is cool. So yeah, free stuff. It's awesome. Quite a few games, like the Impossible Road where you roll the ball down the road, was made entirely Unity free. He made a pop. Cool, so we're going to make a super simple game. So if you open up that assets file, what you'll end up having okay, where is my okay, if you open up that assets file, what you end up having is you're having a whole bunch of different files and stuff like that. So at the end, I'll basically upload the finished version of the project. So you can have the assets at the beginning of the project, you have the finished version. So if, for example, you run out of time, or you want to develop it further, or ship it, or something like that, you can actually get my version, like the finished version, kind of like compare where we were, or like what I did. I also code commented every single line of code, so you can actually see what the hell is happening in the code. So yeah, if you're not a programmer at all, we're going to write a little bit of code, but don't be scared. It's not going to be like, here's 400 lines, now write it down. It's going to be very simple stuff. I'm going to break it down as simple as possible. If you are a programmer, you'll probably be like, you can have an app or something. So yeah, cool. So in these files, you've got a couple of bits and pieces. So here we have some app icons. So the app icons are if you want to, for example, take it to like Windows Store, or you want to take it to iOS or Android. You can use these icons. I'm not the best at Photoshop, which is why they all look like burnt pizza. Like this, yeah, looking like awesome bones. So these are just app icons you can use. We're not going to use them in this workshop, so I basically put in a couple of things like fonts and app icons. So if you do want to, like, try it having that icon and uploading your game to iOS, you can do that. We've got two types of audio. So we've got 2D audio clip. So this is like a background music that plays in the background that we're going to play somewhere. We also have an explosion sound effect. The explosion sound effect is going to be triggered at certain points. So when our rocket hits the asteroid, it's going to make the sound effect happen. So we've got 2D sound, and we've got positional 2D sound as well. Sweet. We've got font as well, which is just the box standard Unity font. So yeah, which is a freebie. We also have some sprites. So we've got lots of different types of sprites. We have some asteroids, which is cool. Those are in a sheet, so we've got 3 asteroids all positioned in one spreadsheet. We've got one big background of space, so this is going to be like useful to place in our background. We also have a sprite animation sequence. So put your hand in if you've done like a 2D game before with sprite sheets and stuff. Okay, that's cool. So what we're going to do is, in Unity, I'm going to show you how to bring in a texture or a sprite sheet, and then basically handle this, how to turn this into an animation clip and play as a certain point. So yeah, I've got an explosion, which kind of fades out. I've got a rocket. The rocket, you can't really see through, but basically the rocket's flames are kind of like flickering rather than being very boring and still, so we're going to handle that. And I've also got the last one, just for some fun. I've got some spaceships. So basically you're going to pick your spaceship that you want to use, and you're going to pick the blaster you want to use for the spaceship. You can combine them, so you don't have to use the same. So I'm probably going to use this one a little white type for everyone. You can then go use this one if you want instead. I don't really mind, but as long as you should pick the spaceship. There's one thing I need to do for the mouse. Okay, so that's a lot better. Oh yeah. So we've got all our assets. We have one more thing. I've been very neat and I've put a rolling pin over Venus and basically just rolled out a texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this onto a sphere. I'm going to have a sphere somewhere in the game. So rather than just being an entirely 2D game, there's actually a 3D sphere rotating in the background. So we'll probably get around to that at some point. So yeah, it's like 2D, 3D mix. Tomorrow in the 2D talk, I'm going to talk more about that, so how to make like a parallax side-scrolling game. So I have Iron Man running through London that's been destroyed. So you're all super excited for that now. Iron Man running through London has been destroyed with like skyscrapers that are like in 2D and skyscrapers that are 3D kind of mixed together and how to get that sort of effect. So I'll show you Iron Man tomorrow. So everyone is going to go to bed like, oh, I can't wait for Iron Man. Sweet. Okay, so we have all those assets. So what we need to do now is we need to make a brand new Unity project. So go to Unity, go to File, New Project, or just open Unity the first time. And you should have a wizard that looks like this. The wizard's not that interesting. We are changing to Unity 5. But yeah, you should have something that looks like this. I understand that for some of you, you're like, yeah, I've seen this window a billion times. But yeah, cool. Sweet. So just set up your project. So I'm going to be mega lazy and set up on my desktop because I'm super messy. And I'm going to call this, what should we call that? Potato.
Yes, potato.
Potato. Okay, the USS Potato. Enterprise, yeah. Is that okay? Yeah, he's like, I'm not sure. Okay, so you're going to save that. So what that will do is Unity will then create a project folder. And that project folder will have many different folders inside. It will have your assets, it will have the things you're going to actually use in the game, your sound effects and things like that. It will also have your libraries, which I'll show you, your temporary folders and stuff like that. So the next thing underneath here are packages. So in Unity, basically we ship with the, when you download Unity, it will come with a whole series of packages. These are like pre-made assets. So for example, you open up Unity, you're like, I have no idea where to begin, it's all new to me and stuff like that. What you can do is you can then import, for example, image effects. And you can play around image effects, or you can import in some particles and play around fire and smoke and stuff like that. So by the end of the day, I'm not going to go into particles too much. By the end of the day, if you think that your spaceship needs some fire, like in the background, or some boosters and stuff, you can then download the particles. Basically, these are all like pre-made things. If you want to make a J.J. Abrams like lens flare type game, use light flares and stuff like that. First thing I did in Unity was make 1,000 cubes explode. I put them all in exactly the same location in physics. They exploded. My dad's laptop didn't like it, so I went on my mum's one, did the same, but put lens flares on every single cube. Hers didn't like it, so they bought me a laptop. Yeah, and there's lots of packages. Next option here is set up defaults. So this sets up the defaults of the editor for either 3D or 2D. I don't like this too much. So I don't like our developers to feel like they have to make a 3D game or a 2D game. So in Unity, basically, between 3D and 2D, you can actually switch at any point. So So rather than this point, I'll say, I'm going to make a 3D racing game, and then I'm racing around, I'll think, actually, I'd like some 2D trees in there, or make some 2D elements and stuff. Shit, I've already started my project, I can't actually go back and do it. So what you can do is at any point during development, you can actually switch it between 2D and 3D. So we're going to do that at one point. So you can mix and match 3D and 2D, you can just use 3D or 2D. Just for example, most of our game is going to be in 2D, so let's go 2D and create a project. And everyone's waiting in the okay, so we have the easy editor. So behind if you've already seen this editor, like you already know what everything is. Ah, okay, cool. So people who have used Unity but not seen the editor. Okay, cool. So with the Unity editor, it's basically been created to be very customizable and have lots of parts talking to one another. So just for example, those of you guys that are following along, what I want you to do is I want you to go to the top right hand corner, go to default, and switch it to 2 by 3. So you have something that looks just like that. So you've got 2 panels on the left, column in the middle, another column, and another column as well. So that way we're all looking at the same layout. So then when I say, can you click on this bit here, you're like, oh, where is it? Oh, he's already gone ahead, oh shit. Yeah, like, so you actually have like the same view. So in Unity, basically, everything complements one another in the editor. So the top left hand here is the scene view, and that's probably the most important view of the entirety of Unity. That's basically where you author your content. So you think of it like, if you play The Sims, you have like the level builder, and you place like trees and rooms, and you try and trap your sim in a room, and then set up a fire, and that sort of stuff in The Sims. Basically, with that, that's basically the scene view. The scene view is kind of like your sculpting page, where you like take a bottle, and take a tree, and take a orc or a goblin, and place it there, and so on and so forth. So the scene view, top left hand corner, and you can see it's actually like labeled like that. So a hashtag, weird hashtag type thing. Basically, that's where you edit all your content. So that's where you place our spaceships and sort of stuff. The game view in the bottom left hand corner here is what your user is going to see. So the scene view is kind of like you fly around the world, you place trees, you place a box and stuff like that. The game view in the bottom left hand corner is like what your players going to see in the end. So pretty much if you play Half-Life. Oh yeah, I said that and no one knew what Half-Life was, and I was like, I instantly feel really old. Yeah. So for example, Half-Life, the scene view in the top left-hand corner will be like where someone's placed like Ravenholm, with placed like zombies, they place weapons and stuff like that, they place all the stuff. The game view in the bottom left-hand corner is what your player sees in the end, which is Gordon Freeman's arm with a crowbar, health bar, like your ammo, and like any like heads-up like narrative, like go here, Gordon, and something like that, for example. So your game view is like what your player's going to see. Up here is what you're going to see, what you're going to move around. So it's quite good to put them next to each other. So the 2 by 3 layout, which I've switched to, for example, 2 by 3 layout is pretty good because it sets them up next to each other. You can edit content up here and move stuff around. So you can, oh yeah, let's move the camera around. That's stuff. Bottom left-hand corner, you're actually seeing what has been changed and stuff. So yeah, awesome. Cool. The next one is this middle column, the hierarchy. So pop quiz. Can anyone tell me what the hierarchy is? I genuinely don't know. Go for it. Okay? So with the hierarchy, basically it's like a list of all the objects in your scene. So if I have, for example, the dolphin game, I'll have 20 dolphins in there. I'll have like the skeleton, I'll have the crazy like dolphin teacher and stuff like that. Rock simulator, we'll have a rock and a floor. Right? Yeah, it's not the most advanced game. So the hierarchy is kind of like a list. It's almost like a shopping list of all the things in your scene. So you can see like, oh, I have 400 trees in my scene. I probably need to cut down on trees. Or I have 400 trees, I need to add more trees, for example. It's kind of like a big drop-down list. So as we add, for example, the background of space, the spaceship, asteroids and stuff like rockets and stuff like that, you actually see this hierarchy kind of build up. It's kind of like if I took a register of everyone here, or rather than taking a photo of you guys, it would basically drop down. So yeah, drops and lasers. Next thing here is the project. So this is kind of like, if you think about this is your canvas, it's where you're going to put your painting onto. Hierarchy is all your paint, like Grumpy Mona Lisa and like all of that nonsense. Your project here, it's kind of like a library. It's kind of like your paint pot of all your things you can use. So when your audio guy with the big beard who makes an awesome soundtrack, you bring it into your project and you save it into your library to then bring to your game. So your project folder here is kind of like your bank. It's where your bank where you go withdraw like assets and use them. You put assets into your bank. So yeah, project folder. Cool. And the last one here is inspected. I'll talk about that a bit later on. Cool. Everyone got that so far? Anyone asleep so far? Put your hand up if you're asleep. You're not really asleep. So you heard me. So yeah, cool. So yeah, we've got very basic, very simple projects. Nice and easy. So the one thing that I want to do is I want to bring in my project, bring all my assets into the project folder. So I want to say to this project folder, which looks pretty miserable and pretty empty, you know, I actually want to take my assets and bring them into here. So I showed this to a guy from Ireland, and he said in a very thick Irish accent, "What is this black voodoo magic?" When I showed him this. I'm not going to do an Irish accent. Sorry. So if you go to your assets, which is, so you'll notice here we've got a folder with app icons, we've got audio, we've got fonts, we've got sprites, we've got textures. This guy already finished the game, so he's like, sweet, I'm going to give it Flappy Bird now. So we have app icons, audio, fonts, sprites, and textures. We have our project folder here. So none of this like file, import, set up the type, nonsense, file, import stuff. With Unity, we like to be quite open and very quick to bring things in. So yeah, right, it took me like 2 weeks to learn how to do this, right? You select your textures, and you select all your files, and then you drag and drop them in. Oh my god. No one's ever applauded to that. Wow. I should come to Bulgaria as well. So we have our project folder. And basically it's as simple as drag and drop. So if I have, for example, okay, let's say, Grumpy Cat. So I think Grumpy Cat should really be in my game, right? So I've got Grumpy Cat. Okay, so say I've got a funny texture online, I think, actually, I really want Grumpy Cat to be like on my player's face, or on like a wall or something like that. What I can do is I can just get Grumpy Cat, save image as. What I can do is I can navigate to that folder I created. So the folder called USS Potato Enterprise. Inside there, you'll notice that it's built up a file structure. It's got your assets, it's got your library folder, project settings, and temp. The assets folder, it looks funny enough to look just like the one in the project folder. So basically, it's like a two-way link. You don't have to do file, import into the editor, and then it's kind of sitting in this weird, mysterious cloud-like, you know, where the hell is my stuff? It's actually just a file structure, like a series of folders. So I can say Grumpy Cat, go to textures, save. Grumpy Cat still hates, this is what the file's called. If I go into here, go to the textures folder, oh wow, look how quick that was, so now Grumpy Cat used. So yeah, so for example, in my Hackathon project is probably going to be Grumpy Cat related. So it's as simple as that. You can just bring this up, save it into your file, or just drag and drop it. It's very, very quick and very straightforward. So enough of me talking about grumpiness. Let's talk about what we've actually imported. So what Unity allows you to do in your project folder is as you select a file, so for example the audio file, it shows you all the files inside that file. Yeah. So these files, rather than sitting there and then you add them to your game and see what they look like, you can actually preview your files before you actually bring them into your game. So for example, if I select this audio clip here, I'll have a whole panel here to basically like allow me to talk about and allow me to have a look at all different things about the audio. So I can change the compression, I can change if it's a 3D sound or a 2D sound and things like that. I can also preview it, so I can preview my audio. I can then say to the audio guy, it's not like, you know, drum and bassy enough, or, you know, needs more drums, it needs more cowbell and stuff like that, for example. So you can actually preview your audio. It's just a file that you're then accessing and then previewing. What you can also do is, for example, I knew someone was going to do that. So for example here, I've got just a simple explosion sound effect. You can also loop it. Yeah, so I can be really annoying and do something like that. So basically you can take your audio and textures and actually preview them before they bring you into their game. So that's pretty useful. So you don't want to like, your artist has created a boss, you then place a boss into the game and it looks like garbage. you can then preview it all in there before you bring it into the game. So even though you have all your assets brought in, they're very loose, it's still very open for you to have a look at them. For example, fonts, not interesting, I'll be honest. App icons, so for example, you can like preview your textures, you can have a look at all your sort of like images and stuff like that. And next one is sprites. So we have here all of our different sprites. So yes. One thing you'll notice is all the sprites are going to be in a grid. So all your files, so for example, the audio is going to position them at like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I don't really like this. This is kind of like a little hint that you guys can like do if you want. What you can do is you can actually pull the little slider at the bottom down, and it will actually change the size of the icon. So you can say, yeah, these are big icons, here's some small icons. So I'm going to make them super small icons just for like the sake of this. So it's more like a list. These are all the different sprites and different assets I can bring into my game. So you can see I've got a background, I've got asteroids, I've got textures and things like that. If I go to my textures folder, I've got Grumpy Cat and I have Venus. So I might put Grumpy Cat's face on Venus, that would be pretty cool. So yeah. So we've got background space and stuff like this. So what we now need to do is we now need to bring background space into our game and position it accordingly. And this is very straightforward. So you guys who are Unity pros, you're probably thinking like, oh wow, I'm really learning stuff, right? So yeah. For those of you guys who do that. So you have your project folder. So like I was saying, this project folder is basically all your like paints, all the paints that you're going to add onto your canvas. And you have your scene view here. So here's some more black magic. It took me ages to learn to do this. Select your object, drag it in, and let go. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah. Cool. So it's as simple as basically dragging and dropping in, drag and drop in, onto the canvas. You don't have to write, you know, take object, add child to canvas, set event listener to do this, and then remove canvas, child, you just drag and drop in. So no mucking around. So yeah. And what you'll notice is a couple of things have happened. So the first thing is, we now have a pretty big background space in our scene view. This is what looks like isomers around the edge for us to edit it. We also have in the bottom left-hand view what players can see. So for example, if I built this to an iPhone, this would be the most boring game on the world. People will be like, I wish I was playing Box Simulator instead. So we have our background space. Like I said, our hierarchy now actually has our main camera, and we have background space. So we actually have items added. Now, as we have a spaceship, it'll have that. As we have trees, it'll have, we're not going to have trees, it'll have all those things. Last thing is this inspector on the right-hand side. So the inspector is basically a description of all the different objects they have in the scene. So I'll do one more thing. Yeah. So for example, if I select my camera and have a look here, my camera has basically got a description basically of everything about the camera. So it's got, for example, the graphic, how big it is, where it is, stuff like that. Basically, the inspector on the right-hand side changes depending on what you selected. And it basically shows a description of all the things about it. So for example, if I was in Unity, it would basically say, oh, he's wearing a t-shirt, or he's got stupid hair, and like he's really like got a really like Austin Powers like voice and stuff like this. Basically, all that he's really tired, you know, all the things like this. He's very happy to be in country red for the rain. So yeah. So for example, it's a description of all those things about myself, for example. So for example, here I set the camera. It's all the things about the camera. So you can play around with these. I can set like, you know, the size of the camera and stuff like that. If I select the background space, so this background space here, you'll notice that it's all things about the space background. Now, space background is very boring. It's got position, rotation, and scales, where it is in the game world, but it's also got things of sprite renderer. So under the sprite renderer, it's basically saying what color it is, how big it is, how it should be rendered, and things like that. So basically, as we build up a rocket, so for example, a rocket that flies later on, it's going to have a rocket, it's going to have an animation on it, it's going to have code on it, it's going to have physics on it, it's going to have like a collider on it to say we collide with an asteroid. Basically, our rocket's going to be built up with lots of descriptions about what the rocket should do. Cool. So we have a background of space, position like that. So it's 11:50 and we started at 11. So one thing that I do, although it's kind of a bit stop and start, is take micro breaks. That's simply because if I just stand here talking for an hour and a half, you guys in about 20 minutes time you'll be like, you might be already like that, but yeah, oh well. So what I'm going to do is we'll take a little micro break for like 5 minutes to stretch your legs, have a drink. I do this every 45 minutes. I used to teach in a school, and I swear to God, getting kids to pay attention for 3 hours of training does not work without this. So yeah, take a 5-minute break, just like look out the window, have a drink, go on Twitter, Instagram, look at